Well, you guys were not clueless here when we're talking about Chris Candido. There's a report in the Observer here. Everyone, including Dusty Rhodes, ended up high on Candido. He'll be a regular. Rhodes has seen Candido while doing indies and felt he was clear headed and in good shape. And that was the word going around at the tapings as well. Rhodes is also high on Cassidy Riley, who came in for job duty. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Chris Candido. He had come in as just a one off to lose to AJ Styles, which is a good match. I would encourage everybody to go to YouTube, Chris Candido, AJ Styles, TNA. He's so impressive that he winds up getting a job out of it. We are going to spend more time talking about Chris Candido as we dive into more 2005 topics. But he's a guy who, not too long before this, it felt like the wrestling world had sort of written off that he's a lost cause. Your booking of him created an opportunity for him to have another shot at a full-time gig. What made you want to roll the dice on Chris Candido? And I'm glad you did.
Yeah, and it's not really my booking, but Chris has always, and again, Chris and Tammy came to Tennessee. I don't think Tammy was even graduated from high school. I know Chris, we could probably look that up when he first came to the USWA. They were really, really young. Chris, as they say, was a good hand then. And so roll along and him and Tom, their gimmick in the 90s, mid 90s with WWF, he's always been a heck of a talent. And again, you know, the set of circumstances at TNA, we had our core guys, and I'm a big believer in keeping the show as fresh as possible. And however his name came across the list, it was a no-brainer to bring him in. And I don't remember who specifically. Maybe it was AJ, maybe it was Daniels, maybe it was somebody else, maybe it was Dutch or whoever that said, "Hey, man, let's give Candido a shot in here." But Chris, always a very good talent.
Yeah, he had just turned 19 when he started wrestling in the USWA back in 1991.
Damn.
Isn't that crazy? Remember Doug Vines?
Wow.
Doug Vines in his first match. Then Danny Davis beat him. He eventually would even work with Bill Dundee in 1991 and Doug Gilbert too. Oh, and then some guy named Rob Zakowski. Did you know that RVD wrestled Chris Candido in the USWA in 1991?
91.
Yeah.
That's classic. That's
Rob Van Dam and No Gimmicks Needed Chris Candido. You've said on the program before, ECW were the originators of hardcore, not ECW. And there's proof. Candido, Rob Van Dam, 91. About that.
Pretty cool.
Let's talk about Jeff Hardy. It's written in the Observer. After nearly losing his job, Jeff Hardy arrived several hours before the taping started. Hardy and Jarrett are close these days, so he seems to think he has carte blanche to arrive late, and there's a feeling Hardy knows he can't get fired. Still, he was punished by being taken off the tapings when he arrived after they started 2 weeks ago. The Torch would chime in and say Jeff Hardy's New Year resolution was be on time for work. So far, so good. As Tuesday, he showed up earlier than ever for the TNA tapings in Orlando. He was even there before catering. His timeliness may not last long, as he was expressing frustration with being there with nothing to do for 6 hours. He described the atmosphere as prison-like, uttering, "They won't even let you leave." So clearly he's trying to, show you guys that, hey, I'm capable of this and I'm taking it seriously and I'm here. But I do want to scratch my head about that sometimes, because that still happens today. Call time is several hours before the show. And I know that once you're running the show in TNA, you get it. I mean, you're the one helping make the rules. So of course you're in favor of it. When you were quote unquote, just one of the boys, did it annoy you that there'd be a 1 o'clock call time for a 7 o'clock show?
I'm just one of the boys right now. And I still, now, as well, our good old waffle stomper, Mr. Silver, our crackpot producer, as far as being straight up exactly on time, maybe a 10-minute, which I'm going to do better about. But no, I do think it's a production day. Get there. Things just are better when you have time to talk through it. But I get it. There's others that no matter what, Kevin Nash did not like to get there early. He'd think about it, talk about it the night before. But when he got there, he didn't want to sit around for 4 to 6 hours, two Two's about his limit. Same with Hardy. Hey man, let's talk about the night before, and then I'll get there. You just gotta have to bend but don't break. It all depends on kind of the personality. I also think there is a huge factor that was at times not well received, in that, hey man, when you've been in the business and have performed at a high level on TV, then we'll kind of make a judgment call whether you can roll in here on your time, your stopwatch or ours. Until you kind of earn your stripes, be here on time. That was always kind of my mindset, that Jerry Lawler could walk in a building and be dressed in 5 minutes and go out and literally tear the house down. I saw him do it many. Matter of fact, I've gone to the ring on a 5 or 6 match spot show, Lawler not in the building. Lawler let whoever know by message, and I would know by watching the back door and a signal. When Lawler got to the building, go about 5 to 7 minutes more. That's plenty. And he'll go to the ring and work. I don't know how many times I've done that Lawler would walk in while my match was in the ring, and then he'd go on out. When you can do that consistently night after night, then you set your own schedule. Until then, be on company time.
Man, did you see? I know you saw a little bit of it. Did you see the response that TNA crowd had for the Hardy Boys over the weekend? Man, what a pop!
Well, that name, and I can remember like it was yesterday. Hey, man, what do you think about Charismatic Enigma? I'm like, that's you. I don't have to think about it for 2 minutes. There is something about, and Jeff is a shining example they're going to talk about that. I mean, back to the days when he was doing jobs and Scott Hall, Razor Ramon called him Ice, as in Vanilla Ice. Just because Jeff had a streak down his hair, and he didn't look like Vanilla Ice, but Scott thought he did. But anyway, he has just always been a very unique but highly charismatic individual, and the people respond. They exploded for him last night, and I couldn't be happier for him. We've been in some valleys together, and so to see him come out the other side of it, his wife Beth and kids and everything about it, he is a gentle, kind soul, and so I applaud all the success he's having right now in more ways than one.
I, for one, am convinced that there's going to be a handful of really big singles matches for him before it's all said and done. Don't you think?
And I think, well, not to get too philosophical, but everything works out exactly the way it's supposed to.
Yes.
The valleys, the peaks, there are no such thing as peaks in life. If you really look at a mountain, you have to have a valley on each side. Jeff has, he's definitely had his peaks in his career and had his valleys, but you can almost just kind of feel the energy.
There's a groundswell right now, Jeff.
Yeah, and there's nothing anybody can do about it, positively or negatively. It's happening on its own.
Did you see? I think I sent it to you because it was all over social this weekend. I had multiple people send it to me. Did you see the tweet that went somewhat viral? I don't even know that it was a tweet. Maybe it was on IG or even TikTok about what Jeff Hardy has meant to the African American community.
Dude,
it's unbelievable. I mean, that thing blew up. I had multiple people who aren't even wrestling fans who sent it to me. They just knew, oh, this is about wrestling. So it was reaching people outside of the internet wrestling community bubble. And I was like, man, this is just getting bigger and bigger. I still think that pop for the Hardy Boys was out of this world. And they've got a handful of really, really big matches in front of them. I don't know what that looks like, but what's possible. And it just feels like Jeff Hardy's probably got that same amount of singles matches too. You want to talk about over? People throw that around for a lot of wrestlers. A friend of ours says people misuse it, and there's only a handful of people who are really over. Jeff Hardy's really over, right?
Oh, well, when I don't want to draw it directly to this, but they made their first ascension Attitude Era. I mean, look, they were up next when I came through the curtain at Good Housekeeping match that same night. And I think the report was, they stole the show. I don't say that was their coming out match, but that's when their real ascension. So it goes back to 99 when you've had a role like that, and Matt and Jeff's obviously real brothers, but real chemistry and just kind of their evolution. Timing's everything, and they both have good timing. You can just kind of see how the house of cards is being built. It's exciting. Again, you just can't kill a memory, and the iconic memories that they've had through the years are the ingredients to this groundswell.
I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Rikishi. There's a note about him in the Observer here. Rikishi's now interested in working TNA, particularly after somehow hearing what DDP is getting. I don't know if there's anything to this or not, but DDP, according to Rikishi, is getting $5,000 to $7,000 a week and has signed an exclusive TNA deal. Rikishi hadn't contacted TNA because when he was released, he was told that he'd be brought back at some point as long as he didn't go to TNA. And now he realizes WWE isn't bringing him back. I know we don't talk about other people's money, but even I was like, wait, in 04, DDP was getting $7,000 a week. I could see it once you had some of that sweet Spike money poured in, but in 04, that's a stretch, isn't it, Jeff?
Is that Keller or Meltzer?
That's Dave Meltzer.
See, it's just bizarre how there's no way he could have remotely come close to validating that. That number is just brought out of thin air. I don't even think Dallas would have come up with that number, to be honest with you. Excuse me. Just total nonsense. I mean, total nonsense. And on Rikishi, I don't know where you're going with this but from the day in creative, it was discussed. And I don't want to say it lengthy. It was, he'll be back in a month. He'll be back in 3 months. He ain't going nowhere. He'll be back with him before you know it. Just from a historical perspective, that he's not leaving that house.